Okay, next teaching here is about measuring up. And this is one of those teachings that, yeah, how do I say this? It's not going to land for every one of your children, but you don't know which child it's going to land on or which child it's going to be so significant for. And what I mean by that is after working with parents for, 12 plus years, we see this a lot, an awful lot, that for parents, they just are so struggling because they constantly feel like they're not measuring up, that they are missing the mark, or that there is a pursuit of perfectionism. And failing is not an option, not keeping up with the Joneses. It's really easy to do when you're like just married. And then you have that one child, it's, okay, but by the time you add two, three, four children, it is really hard to keep up with perfection. It just really is. And that's where, especially moms just start to wear down or dads start checking out. You don't always see this measuring up grid, maybe in children. Maybe they might be making some comments about it or whatever, but you really see how it's ingrained in childhood and then solidified over the years, and then how they struggle when they become parents to their children. And this teaching, we had to put this one in here because we're like, what would it look like if dads actually taught the truth about identity of measuring up at an early age, so that it doesn't become something that the enemy can use and hijack and cripple so many moms and dads with feeling like they don't measure up. So I hope that makes sense. But basically, this teaching is helping your children to see that there are a lot of measuring sticks in the world. Am I skinny enough? Am I pretty enough? Am I old enough? Do I have enough responsibility? Or like, you know what I mean? Like, do mom and dad let me do enough? Or am I making enough money? Do I have the right job? I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And really, I don't have it here in front of me like I should, but there's only one measuring stick. And all of the other measuring sticks can just be laid down. There's only one measuring stick that should be paid attention to. Am I measuring myself according to God's standard? Now, it's not God's standard of perfection because only Jesus was perfect. So, in other words, when with God's measuring stick, you'll never be up here with perfection. That was only Jesus. But that God gives us a measuring stick of grace, of obedience, and character, and all these different things. And we have to say, okay, there's got to be a humble and a humility piece here. And we say, you know what? I did fall short of what God wants me to do with interacting with my brother or sister. I did fall short. I was not humble. I was not kind. I'm sorry, I was not kind. And so we have to humble ourselves and we have to get in right standing with only his measuring stick. But when we start putting all these other measuring sticks around us, what's going to happen? We're going to grow into an adult that walks into crippling defeat. And let me tell you, I've sat with so many moms and dads over the years where it's just that measuring stick needs to just be broken over their leg. And it is really paralyzing for them. And so, dads, I really feel like we can get this in childhood by you taking the canvas of their, I call it the whiteboard of their brain, and you start drawing in there. You don't have to keep up with your friends or your neighbors or who's got the best phone or who's got the best toys or the best bike or the best, clothes or whatever. You keep up to the measuring stick of Jesus. And at the end of the day, if there's any place that you have fallen short from his measuring stick, you take it to the cross, you ask for forgiveness, you make it right, and you go to bed and you sleep in peace that you are measuring up. That you are measuring up. And I think the other thing that I want to highlight is that the world measures by external things like material possessions, looks, clothes, achievements, grades, sports, all that kind of thing. But that God looks at the internal and God looks at what's inside your heart for measuring up. And so one is in your doing and one is in your being. It's really important that children understand this. I had a couple different times where my Lauren, who's just my firstborn natural leader, firstborn by a minute, by the way, she's a twin, um, just a natural overachiever. She doesn't have to put any effort into it. Straight A student, just gets along with everybody. She just governs herself very well and kind of always has. She's 19 now, and she's just in that area. It's been very easy to parent her. Um, but she I had a situation when she was in eighth grade. She went to a Christian school, and we felt like halfway through the year we needed to pull her, and she needed to come home. So we let Emma, her twin sister, finish out that school year, but it was just the right choice for Lauren to come home. And so she was homeschooled, and we did like an online program. And I said, listen, you have 1 month to just figure it out. I said, well, I'm going to look at your grades. 1 month, just figure it out. It's a new computer system. You're going from Christian, very small Christian school to homeschool. Like there's just a lot of overlapping. And so I said, you're not going to step into it and just hit the ground running. There's going to be some chunky places. And that's fine. Just 1 month, not a big deal. Again, she's been a straight A student her whole life. The last quarter or the last semester of her eighth grade year is just not going to matter. And there's grace for that. And she was failing everything, every test, everything. She was, Mom, nobody's taught me this stuff. How am I supposed to know it on a test? And I said, don't worry about it. That's like the previous lesson that you're jumping into, the new chapter, the new lessons you're going to get. You're going to be just fine. They kept telling me, don't worry about it. And her measuring stick was, I'm failing, I'm failing, I'm failing, I'm failing. And really, at the end of the month, she punched it back. And she was, trying to learn this new computer system too. And that was tripping her up a little bit. She was mortified. She just, when her grades came in for the end of the month, she was just absolutely, she was devastated. And I heard the Lord say, she got an A. And I was like, she got an A. Her A was in failing because her measuring stick is not in her A. Her measuring stick is in failing and still knowing who you are. And so I asked her, I said, well, does God love you any less? And she said, no. And I said, do I? You know, and I said, are you at risk for having to get kicked out of the family? Or like, are you at risk for any of that? She said, no. And I said, then this is just performance. But the measuring stick of who you are is unchangeable. And that was a huge life lesson for her. I'm actually really glad that she failed that month because she was able to learn the measuring stick of God of who she is. So come on, dads, go after this with your kids. And seriously, you would be shaving off years and hours and years of heartbreak from some of your sons and daughters who are just seem to be wired a little bit more to have that awareness of the measuring sticks all around them. So we want to break that. Be blessed.